Hi.
Hi. Oh my gosh. I have a
Good.
bruised nose because I got some micro channeling done.
Nice. Okay. That's
Yeah.
fine. We have a nose. We're grateful for a nose.
Yes. Yes.
How are you
I
this
agree.
evening?
Good, good. Like work was good and it's a very rare like thing that I finish work like on time and I have some of my own time just to do things I enjoy, which is this, like having a conversation with you. This
Amazing.
is
Good.
amazing.
Okay. Yeah, and yeah, yesterday I signed up and I was like, yes, I'm going to talk to Sabreen today. And then I realized I was like, oh my God, it's tomorrow. It's not today. So you know how
Yeah.
enthusiastic I am to talk to you.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love it. And I was looking forward to it as well.
Thank you for coming on. I was just telling
Of
everyone that I
course.
invited you, and I'm so glad that you agreed. And
Oh
that
my
I want
gosh.
to talk to you about obviously not just your work, which is also very exciting for someone like me as a creator, but also your personal journey and your own podcast and all the
Hmm.
beautiful things that you do online. You do a lot, don't you?
I think so. It's so funny because a lot of people in my network have started asking me if I use a lot of AI. And I'm like, why? They're like, because you're so like in so many different places all the
Yeah,
time. And I'm like, yeah, but AI can't produce the work. It is a good creative partner and you can build workflows that help you kind of get stuff done and get busy work off your plate. But I think when it comes to production or scripting, like those are things you still have to do on your own. So, but thank
yeah.
you. I think I have a very land and expand kind of a mindset. So YouTube is one area I'm doing that currently, and then LinkedIn is just one of those other platforms where I have invested very deeply from a very long time because all the ups and downs in my life that I went through and went through layoffs because I live in the US and the tech industry is pretty much always in a state of flux, and LinkedIn really stayed with me. So I found that LinkedIn was one area like I have to really invest in from a creative perspective.
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah.
I good. You've been posting on LinkedIn every single day. For how long now?
Since the June of 2024. I
Whoa.
know. I know. I
Oh.
know.
That is
It's
dedication,
bonkers.
bro. That is wow. Okay. And
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
a different platform, I feel like in a lot of other platforms, like maybe Twitter or even on Instagram, you can sometimes get away
Yeah.
with just, like a video or whatever. You don't really have to think so much about it. But on LinkedIn, you have to be very, very particular, isn't it?
You do. Yeah. I think nuance is important, but I do think that the demographic on LinkedIn is changing quite a bit, especially since they introduced their video feed. And I think that that has almost kind of attracted a more younger generation to come in and
Amazing.
say, can I repurpose some of my other content, which is still representative of my work? And I think that that has done really well. And I mean, naturally, considering that I've posted every single day since the summer of 2024, I would have lost my marbles if every single day was a very nuanced, like, yeah, let's go six
Of
layers
course.
deep into this topic. So
Of
I
course.
definitely have some corporate humor content pillar going that on days when I'm not feeling super inspired, that I'll
Sure.
just pulse that out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know that,
Yeah.
right? Because you have been on the platform, you know what works, you know what works for you. But
Right.
someone like me, I don't really do LinkedIn in that sense because I have had a LinkedIn profile since like I don't even know. We used to have
Ages.
Yahoo groups for LinkedIn in those days
Yeah.
because there were barely any people
Really?
on LinkedIn. So we used to actually
Mm.
interact on Yahoo groups. So I've been on it for
Interesting.
a very long time, but I don't really post on it.
Use it.
Usually, if I make a video and I'm posting it on Instagram, and if I feel like it's not too crazy for LinkedIn, so then I'll post it on LinkedIn. But the podcast I have been posting on LinkedIn quite a bit, and that I think
Hmm.
has increased a lot of views. Like LinkedIn sends me these like, oh, this got viewed so many times, and I'm like, well, I haven't been even looking at my LinkedIn activity. So it's quite
Yeah.
interesting.
I'm a big advocate of owning your audience. And I think that transferring your brand equity as much as you can, which is like, all right, like I'm doing well on LinkedIn. I think, and this is not, I know it sounds a little icky when you kind of share how many followers you have. I checked today and I'm close to 29,000, which means these are 29,000 people and I get, in proportion to the engagement I get on my posts, I feel good right now, but I think that there's definitely room to, But I found success in sharing updates in terms of how I'm building my YouTube out. And so then I'm able to
Mm.
port some viewership there. And I think the other reason I'm doing it is because as I hopefully get to the monetization threshold on YouTube, my hope is to also have a US audience in some ways because the cost per thousand views coming from South Asia versus the US is much lower. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that there's something to be said about, I will surprise you with something though, which is I know I've had this Instagram for a really long time, like since
Yeah.
I was a baby almost. And I have again found myself hitting this wall of if I do want to take on brand deals,
Mm.
it is impossible with the demographic I have on this channel to pitch to US brands because if I'm not able to help them switch the wallet share, it's been really hard. And like no matter how generic, like universal your content is, it still kind of keeps serving the content back to that demographic, which means the
Yes.
new followers are also South Asian. So I'm actually thinking of starting a new Instagram. This will still be something I maintain, but I definitely in summer at some maybe like July or something will launch a new Instagram.
That's
Fingers crossed.
honestly just thinking about another Instagram is like,
Yes. But you know what I've noticed? I've come across so many different profiles recently that have four posts
yeah,
and 20,000 views, 30,000 views is because I think if you are diligent enough in planning your content out, that initial period as a new user is like a jackpot
it
because
is.
Instagram is deliberately pushing your content to
Yeah,
non-followers because you don't really have any followers. And so it's in their best interest that you become a true super user of the platform.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm itching to see if I can get a clean slate,
Wow.
just like I
I'm
did after my divorce.
Yeah, man, but honestly, like, I'm so glad that you agreed to come on the podcast because I
No,
feel like
of course.
you're like really in the trenches when it comes to,
Hmm.
content and social media. Not only do you
Yeah.
work for Buffer, but your own
Yeah.
channels, like the kind of things that you do. It's like every time you say something, I'm like, oh my God, that's a gold mine. I'm like, oh my God, that's a gold mine. Like if it was a book, I'd probably be like,
Oh,
underline this, highlight this.
oh,
Because
you're so.
no, because I mean it in the sense that, these days, especially when you go looking for stuff online, where you want to find out about, okay, what do I do on
Yeah.
Instagram? Or how do I build content? You get like,
Hmm.
there are all these
Generic.
listicles. It's very generic. But
Yeah. Yeah.
hearing it from someone who is actively doing it not just for themselves, but that's also
Yeah.
what they do for work. Like the kind of insights you will have is like, yes,
Yeah.
please bring the tea.
That's really sweet. I mean, Nana, you are multi-dimensional. I have seen your work when it comes to your photography portfolio. I have seen the type of clients you've had. I was just talking to my boyfriend and telling him, like, oh my gosh, like Nana has just, I remember those days where you had all these really like incredible composition in terms of and the runway shots you had, and then
Yeah,
the
groceries.
uh yes, like the very like three-dimensional, and what you have behind you, that's your creation, like just
You're so cute.
so
Thank
no,
you.
that's high praise coming from you. But yes, I think working at Buffer is something that also has helped me credibility wise. And I will
Yeah.
say that the advantage of creating some of that content that you're speaking of, especially if you go to Buffer's YouTube,
Yeah.
I'm now on the production team where, actually, Kirsty, who's our senior content creator on our team, she's leading the charge with the strategy.
Yeah.
But, it's a small team. So people who are comfortable on camera have to kind of jump in. And so I have a setup and I'm like figuring out the best way to leverage it. But the best part about a lot of what you will hear in those videos is coming from millions of posts that we have analyzed that have been published via Buffer. So it is first party data from
Yeah.
our end users. And so we're not faffing in that sense. And
Yeah.
yeah, like you'll find that Kirsty has done some incredible videos around best time to post on Instagram or TikTok, and she explains why. But I think a lot of like I posted a video on, I think it was like top 12 ways to monetize or something, or 6 ways. I can't remember which one.
Sure.
And those are like, okay, let's like really talk about it. Like, don't give me brand deal. Okay, no, what? Like, what am I supposed to do to get this brand deal? Like,
Yeah.
what is an example of a pitch? So, and I think I'm answering a lot of the questions that nobody answered for me and frustrated me for years. So that's the
Sure.
lens.
I can, oh my
Yeah.
God. I'm just thinking, do you do like consulting work? Do independent people like me hire you to help them with their content?
It's such a cool, like, so I am so like, Nana, you will relate to this, but like I grew up in New Delhi,
Yeah.
right? And I think Indian people are they operate in within a template. I think you are an outlier where you've done your own stuff and I don't think everybody is cut out to be an entrepreneur. And I
For
think
sure.
I've always been gotta have to have a full-time job, like retirement, medical insurance, and the way that things work in the US, we really have to like make sure we're set up for success when we get older because things are regressing. But the thing that happened that came through very accidentally, fell in my lap, that I was like, yeah, I'm never gonna be that person, is I think last year in May, started getting approached by a few brands on LinkedIn. Out of all the places on
Huh.
LinkedIn, not once on Instagram. Because Instagram, I've done a few different things. I did a very big campaign with Etihad Airways, and
Yes,
I
you
was
did.
like, I don't know if this is going to take off. It got 100,000 like views, and I'm like, this is luck because there's nothing like mind blowing about this bit. And it's such bad editing. It just makes me like die, like crawl into a hole. And it's like like when we were kids and those birthday videos or wedding film where things are spinning and like weird music. It was like very retro. So on LinkedIn, I started getting some brand deals.
Amazing.
And they were essentially, hey, like we're a SaaS product, could you share a little bit more about your demographic? Could you blah blah blah? And so then I started making a few videos, and again, the editing was like, and you'll see now there's a lot more polish in production because of obviously the way that I'm being trained at Buffer as well, like,
Yes.
and you'll see that quality in YouTube as well.
Yes.
I
Oh,
do not have an elaborate setup.
that last
And
video
like,
that you showed me, oh my God. I was like, girl, this is like TV level production. Like I'm watching like a
wait,
documentary.
really?
Oh my God. Like the text being animated
YouTube?
here, and you have specific pull quotes coming out here, the lighting at the back,
Yes.
the lighting in the front. It was, oh, what are you talking about? Oh my God, it
Oh
was so
my,
good.
Nana, if I showed you what the setup looks, you will faint because
No, I'll
it's
probably be
so,
inspired because I'll be like, oh my God, it's so simple. I can do it.
yeah. So like, it's so funny. So I'll get to that in a second, but I want to complete the sponsorship point is, I
Yes,
started creating this pipeline. So you could call that consulting a little bit in some
yes,
ways.
yes,
And then what ends up happening is that then you somehow are placed in this pool, and then other people notice you, and then you become part of different agency pools, and I'm like, I don't know how
yes.
you got my email, but okay, like we're so now I think I'm very proud that I've worked with a lot of brands to create a lot of content and their repeat campaigns. I wouldn't say that it's a holy smokes, I can replace my full-time income. And I don't think that I will, like, Buffer has been the best company that I've ever worked at. So I'm never gonna like, that's too precious. But I've definitely started building a little, I'm open to like, I'm always open to, because it teaches me so much about like
Sure.
the problems people are running into. About the setup, Nana. About the setup. You see a lot of, oh, people have two key lights and then a fill light, and I have none of that. I have one light that sits right next to my camera. I usually literally with tape paste two lights in the back, like
Sure.
there. Then here I place a little light, which is literally a night lamp. And that's
Yep.
the only thing I carried with me after my divorce. And I was like, oh, this needs to be thrown. But I used it. And
Used
then,
it.
and then what? And then I just play with the shutter speed and the ISO and the white
Yes.
balance
Yes.
and the depth of field. And I think the light in the back is mostly to give me an outline because it
Yes.
ends up being a little too dark.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you so much. Like it just makes me happy because I think I've come a long way in that
Of
sense,
course. Of course. Yeah.
production
But
wise.
going back to, the way you were talking about the video that you did for Etihad, and you were like, oh, it was very retro and things are like spinning and stuff. I have the sense that it's probably doing better because people find it more relatable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Like even the videos that
absolutely.
I do, they're like talking head videos. My hair is not combed. There's something I need to talk about. So I just get on and I talk about it. I have no lights. I just use the phone. I
Yeah,
don't even adjust anything on it. And I feel that it resonates more with people because I feel like a lot of people are like a
100%.
bit sick and tired of looking at all the extremely polished stuff,
Yeah,
and also the level of trust and relatability in that sense. It makes it more like I'm like you, bro. Like I'm not like
yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
influencer with like, the sun shining out my ass. We're just you and me, we're people. So I live
Yeah,
life, you live life, and we have a lot of similar relatable experiences. So for me, I think that has also helped me keep my anxiety down in terms of production value because I'm like, oh my God, like what am I supposed to do? But you
right.
sharing what your setup is, it makes me feel like, hey, actually, maybe I could do that.
Oh, 100%. Because, it's not even about the camera as long as, it's all about, they say, like, I used to be very much someone who used to get very wrapped up in, oh, a cinema line camera versus not. Like, I almost bought an FX3, which is so expensive. The body is so expensive. And I think that it's a really good camera for long shooting because, there's a fan and all that stuff. So it's a good
Yeah,
workflow. But then I was like, I can likely get the same output with it. And I didn't buy a cheap camera. I still bought like a Sony A7IV or something.
sure.
And it has like a flip screen and stuff. But I think I read somewhere on Reddit that you should date the camera and marry the lens.
Yes, yes.
So
Always.
I am living by that philosophy. It's like if I ever need an upgrade or like if I'm ever trying to I don't know film something like I want to capture the moon or something like that
Sure.
can be achieved through the lens. Like I don't have
Yes.
to buy because the body is not really contributing towards
No,
how the
yeah.
footage looks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even for photography, it's the same. Like the lens is
Yeah,
where
yeah,
all
yeah.
the, masala is essentially. Because the body is
Right.
there, but there are so many things that you can do with the lens. It makes
Yeah.
that glass is far more important than the body that you use. Yeah. So I'm
Totally,
not surprised
totally.
it's the same for filming also.
Yeah, totally. I mean, and I think I've always had a thing for photography, yes, but I studied photography. I went to
Oh.
the Mass Communication Research Center of Jamia. Uh,
Oh.
but I'm not like I could never do like what you do, the way that you like movement. But I have a sharper eye for video production and
Yes,
cinematography.
yes.
So that's my thing. But and I do sorry, I wanted to go back to your point about relatable content, right? And
Mm.
I think that the pull between my two sides of my brain, one side of my brain is very like, I'll come across these profiles that have the funniest unpolished videos, and this person just like comes on camera and is like has their camera so close to their face and is like heaving into the camera while cracking the joke, and it has millions of views. But then you also have people who film, who switch frames a lot. Like that is my style very much,
Yes.
that if I'm saying something, it's all about switching frames, interesting transitions and all that stuff. And I'm very torn between wanting that for myself because it represents me, but then also like, but who has the time to produce? Like, and I'm definitely not one of those. Do you know what, Sabrine? Wake up at 4 a.m. if you have to. Absolutely not.
Agreed.
Not
Me
going to
neither.
do that.
No. Yeah,
Can't do
same.
that.
No thanks. Yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But it's even with the thing that you said about the US and having an audience in the US, I'm facing the exact same thing. Because brands that
Yeah.
reach out to me here to collaborate, they're like, oh, you have a Southeast Asian audience and we would like to work with you because we want to reach the Southeast Asian audience. And I'm like, but I want to work with Australian brands and my local Adelaide community. And it's like constantly, it's just like, oh, Southeast Asian, so you work with us. Oh, there's no other influencer Southeast Asian in Adelaide, so we want to work with you. And I'm like, yeah, but so it's,
Yeah.
but I feel it's also, there is obviously relatability because we are from that community. So there are people who will be like, oh, they will follow because they want to follow your
Yeah.
journey. Like, oh, you got to Adelaide.
Yes.
What visa did you get here on? What are you doing? How are you
Right.
surviving? But then, slowly, slowly, I think it'll happen where typical Adelaide Australian brands that have been around here for 40, 50 years that started as mom and pop shops. And slowly, slowly, they will notice you and the kind of people that you work with, and it grows. But yes, there is definitely a real challenge of me wanting to work with a more Australian audience and also trying not
100%.
to be pigeonholed into like, oh, who is the Southeast Asian influencer? I don't want to be that. I'm Naina. I work with everyone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 100%. I think you should experiment
Okay.
starting a new channel. See, here's the thing. This is the funny thing. Though you have to take it with a pinch of salt because I started so the YouTube my YouTube channel, right? Clean slate. I mean, in a way, because I actually created that channel in 2013 as a kid, but I asked our SEO expert at Buffer, hey, like I'm thinking, because I have a bunch of random videos like product reviews, I'm coloring my hair, or a silly vlog that has no purpose or direction. Should I nix this account and then create a new one? And he's like, no, domain authority is important. So you should rebrand your channel. You should archive old videos you know, and so I already had around 395 or 400 followers. But then
Sure.
I started posting like 3 weeks ago. And my first video got me 400 new subscribers, which I don't know how that happened. I know that's pretty
Wow.
crazy. But then I look at the demographic and I'm like, I mean, it's amazing, but it's like 44% India.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about divorce and healing from divorce. So it's not like these are like I'm not talking about arranged marriages. I'm talking about it can be applicable to literally anybody who's living anywhere in this world. I think
Absolutely.
maybe it's about the way that I look and all that. I don't know if that contributes towards it, but I
Definitely.
think with yeah, but with Instagram, Nana, I would like maybe this is something we could do together and exchange notes. But I would suggest you create a new email ID
Mm-hmm.
that isn't used across any of your other meta platforms,
Ah,
and then create your new Instagram account through that,
acha. I get it.
and just go bonkers. And I think that you should geotag yourself to being in Australia and like all,
Yeah.
all that stuff. And I think you need to speak to Australians. Like
Yeah.
literally in your script, like you need
Yeah.
to like, hi, I like for example, I noticed in my YouTube description it says I was raised in India and then I moved to the US, and I should instead say I'm a Boston based creator
Yes.
who, because
Yes.
India was like a decade ago. Like I moved overseas like in 2015.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
So
And
I
how was
know.
that? How was that shift when you moved in 2015? Like, you must have been a
Oh,
child. I mean, you're still a child for me.
I was, I think I was 22 when I moved. And
Oh, baby.
I know, I was a headless chicken and I was learning so much. Yeah, it was like a culture shock, because I didn't move from India to another very social country. It was very like, oh, London is extremely gray and, it
Yeah.
can be very, very hard to, because British humor is not exactly, doesn't always land.
No.
Uh, and so like I struggled quite a bit. Like I remember, I come from a family with modest means. And so it's not like my parents were funding my entire lifestyle. And I decided to like work part-time as a student. I waitressed. I worked at like a store, like one of those home goods style stores. I restocked. I tried to sell kitchen like models. Like I did all like everything I could. And I think my parents gave me some cash for the first month or so. And I was very, very sure about like that's it. Like I have to find like so I remember when I moved to London, you have to apply for something called NI number,
Okay.
national insurance number. I
Okay.
remember all the other Indians I knew who had moved to London around the same. They were all busy being touristy, and I'm like, nope, I need to get documentation in place so I can apply for this, so I can apply for
Yes.
a part-time job. So I did all that, and then I just yeah. So I think it was really daunting, Nana. But I think Indian kids live a very sheltered life, so that was the
Yes.
first time that I learned how to budget and how to present myself at work.
Oh,
So it taught me a lot. And then I think US was a very different story because I moved here after I got married at 25.
okay. Wow.
And that wasn't a good experience. It
Yeah.
just wasn't.
It,
I really went through it. And I mean, I'm very happy to be on the other side of it, but I think I had to go through that experience to
sure.
become the person I am
Yeah,
now.
I get that. Yeah, I get that. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what it's like. It's, about a year ago, I started hearing this phrase saying it's all happening for you. It's not
for
happening
you.
to you. The problem
Right.
is when you're in it, it's very hard to hear that. But it's once you're on the
Mm.
other side of it, then you can look at it with a different perspective. So yeah, I get it.
Yeah, and it depends, right? Like, do you have any support, like in terms of like I had no family in London.
Yeah,
I have no family in the US. No distant friend, relative. Like maybe my dad has a distant friend in like the
sure,
Bay Area, but like that's on
sure.
the other side of the country. So I also am a firm believer that I think Indians have a lot to say about how the American culture is. Oh, so like bullshit. But it's like, no, dude, they make time for Christmas, for Thanksgiving. I have seen their families way more than I have seen my own family see their own
Yep,
brothers or sisters. So
yeah,
I think they are nuclear and they have boundaries, but so I think now that I'm obviously fell in love again after my divorce, like I met someone who's an incredible partner,
excellent.
and then that's how then like now I interact with his family, and so that's become my world. But I don't have like I sometimes still I don't know if it happens with you, Nana, like this doomy like existential crisis of what's going to happen to me when I get older. Like it's not I don't have a kid, I don't have any anybody around me who I can share my feelings with. What's gonna happen?
Yeah, sometimes. But, I'm 45. I've been divorced twice. I'm currently in love with an
Yeah,
Australian. We
yeah.
also broke up once and now we're back together. And,
Mm.
it's life. And, thinking about getting old, honestly, I feel like I will probably, if I end up not being with someone, not being partnered with someone, it'll probably just be a bunch of women who we buy a big house and we just live in it together. And I look forward to that. Anywhere in the world, open for applications. I think we'll
You
be
know,
fine, Sabreen.
I think Nana, and there's going to be so much more infrastructure
Yeah,
because like the birth rate in the US there's a steep decline, even in India. Like I'm seeing that,
yeah,
or like the trajectory of when women are having kids has changed. Like, this whole propaganda that you should have kids earlier in your life. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm for or against it, like it's a personal choice, but I'm just saying, like, if so many people are choosing to be child free, like, then there's got to be some infrastructure at some point to
yeah,
take care of
yeah,
these.
definitely. Like Australia, in that sense, I mean, here it's a very different culture. So, kids are kicked out of the house at 16 and you have to
Right.
fend for yourself. And then as you get older, there is a sense of, I've noticed that a lot of older people who are like older here, I mean, by like 85, 90, they move into
Yeah.
these old villages, old people villages. I'm sorry, I can't remember what it's actually called. But it's
That's
it's
cool.
like this huge community with separate
I love
homes,
that.
and they
Yeah.
just move there and they have their own things that they do. The food is delivered to their units, and someone comes and helps you. Like if you're not very mobile, they'll take you shopping. And it's so there is a culture here of that, which I feel is much more organized compared to back home in India. But there are a lot
Hmm.
of people who live there, and then the kids kind of visit them, and it's like very normal part of Australian life. It's not like, oh no, the kids are not, you're not living with your parents, you're not taking care of your parents. There's none of that. It's like the
But in
parents are like, yes,
India,
yeah, yeah, it's
in
different.
India, it's obligatory. It's like you have kids as a retirement, like
Yeah,
safety,
yeah.
and who's going to inherit everything.
That's that's one thing that I really appreciate with both my parents, especially my dad, because after he retired, he worked for a few years, and then eventually they realized that the huge four-bedroom house that they were living in Gurgaon was no longer manageable. And he had it clear in his head that there is one veterans home in India for retired army personnel, and he applied for it. And mom was like, no, no, it's our house and we don't want to leave. And like the kids, where will they go? And dad is like, we will take care of ourselves. And they moved there about 3.5 years ago. And
Yeah.
they're surrounded by a community of similar retired army personnel, their
Oh,
wives.
that's nice.
They're very close to medical facilities. The food is great. It's all like home cooked food. There's a mess. Everyone meets there. They play cards in the evening. They go for walks in the evening and stuff. So in that sense, I feel like my dad was always pretty cool. He was like, yeah, yeah, we'll figure it
I
out.
love
You go do
that.
your own thing. And my mom
I
was not.
love I
She's like, "No, my house and I want to go back and I don't like this. And my dad is like, you don't have to do anything here. Can you like relax?
Yeah, it's also like, but that's amazing. And I think that that's like an anomaly because
It
most
is.
Indian parents are
Yeah.
very, they guilt trip their kids into like, it's your responsibility to
Yeah.
take care of them and financially take care of your parents, like, which to
Yeah.
me is like they don't save, they don't invest, they don't like कि वो बिल्कुल Ron Swanson of Parks and Rec who like doesn't believe in banks and stores his money in soil
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that sort of a thing. um yeah, I think that's a cool one. And I also read somewhere which is like, oh, if you don't have kids, like who's going to take care of you? And these child free by choice people are like so badass. They'll say, we'll the people who will take care of you in a nursing home. Like, because your child is going to grow up and move
Yeah.
to, I don't know, like France, wherever else.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's, I'm still unlearning this, Nana, because I'm 34. I don't know, like maybe I'll have a kid when I'm 38 or something. Like I don't
Sure.
know right now. Or
Sure.
maybe I won't, but I think I feel much safer in my relationship now. So I
Sure.
wouldn't even entertain the thought of it when I was previously married. And that was a
Fair.
sign that I didn't pay much attention to. It is like my
Interesting.
cortisol. Yeah, it's like, things changed. But yeah, no, it's so cool and terrifying being an immigrant. And you
Cool
go
and
back.
terrifying. I'm going to use that line. It's so cool and terrifying being an immigrant. Okay, yes.
Yeah, because it takes. So when I talk to my boyfriend's parents, they're like, "Oh, you've got to be really smart because you moved away from your home country and you survived." There is this perception people
There.
have is that
Yeah.
if you're an immigrant and you made it out of your country and you're living overseas in a completely different system, you have to be smart, and I appreciate that. But at the same time, it's like, where is home?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I go to India and it's nice. But then I can't like, and I have to like leave and I have to say
Yes.
I like want to go back to my lonely life
I know what you mean. Yeah.
where
No, I feel,
yeah,
even when I was moving from India to Australia, there was a part of me which was like, am I running away from something? Is this escapism?
yeah,
And I was like, not really. I feel like my life, I have mostly been driven by curiosity. For me, it was
yeah,
more like, let's go and see. You can always come back to
right,
India. So
yeah,
that
yeah,
was my
yeah,
thought process. And
yeah.
I mean, I came here with like one suitcase, one backpack, and every time someone hears that, they're like, oh my God. And I had never been to Australia before I moved here. I didn't know anyone in Adelaide. But yeah, it's been cool and actually not that terrifying, to be honest. But then also, I'm 45, it's a different perspective, I feel. And we all go through so many experiences. I've never wanted kids, so that's never been on the cards. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
it's not a commitment that I'm willing to make.
Fair,
And
fair.
Yeah, but it's, I don't know, it's fun. It's fun. I mean, I came to a point a few weeks ago where I had only $200 left in my account, and I was like, shit, I've got rent to pay in 2 weeks, and what am I going to do? And that's how the $100 products came up, you know. I feel like everything is like this. Uh, it's a thing that you can choose to go on an adventure on, or you can choose to be like, oh shit, woe is me. So I was like,
Yeah.
let's do something. You never know what works. And I cannot believe how well the podcast is done. Like, I was speaking to someone 2 days ago, and she's Australian and she runs a production company. And she's like, wait, you charge for your podcast? And I was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, people pay to be on my podcast. I do have guests that I invite, like you, for example. But
Wow.
most of them, people are paying to be on the podcast. And she was like,
Because
I
you have
am
an
shocked.
audience.
I am shocked to hear that. And I was like, why is that? She said so she has handled podcast production for people. And she said people do it as for free because they want the eyeballs, they want the audience. And I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah, but there is work involved in this. You're not, you're getting access to my audience in that sense. The
Right.
number of
Right.
deliverables, it's like 40, 50 deliverables across so many platforms. Like, I don't want to do it for free. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? So it's been
I
very
get
interesting.
that. Yeah, the way that
Yeah,
you position it will be is interesting, like I mean, I know people who have paid to be on podcasts because the topic of the podcast is B2B SaaS or something, and they want
of
to talk
course.
about their
Yeah.
entire product.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, and then they workshop the script and like, well, how exactly are you going to do it so it doesn't come off like salesy? No, I totally get that. It's like a different business model, and I think
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah. But it's
That's
been fun
awesome.
though. Yeah. I do have a work related question, but I'll let you go first because you're the
Yes.
guest.
No, no, I just wanted to ask you, are you a permanent resident in
Not
there
yet.
now?
No. I'm on a
Okay.
what's called a 491 visa, which is essentially a regional work visa. So I have a visa for 5 years where I can live and work. For 3 years, I'm restricted to South Australia. I need to live and work within South Australia. After 3 years, I
Yes.
can go
Okay.
to anywhere else in the country. And after those years, I can also apply for permanent residency.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Just always curious about how
Yeah,
others are
it's so
doing.
different everywhere. Yeah. And
Yeah, yeah,
Australians
yeah.
are very welcoming of migrants. They
Nice.
understand that it's a visa, that you don't have access to the facilities that they do. They
Right.
understand that the students who come here probably pay 10 times more than what, a local Australian would pay.
Local would pay.
Yeah. So Australians in that sense are very entrenched with immigrants and they understand the migrant story, etc., which I really appreciate. And it's a very
Nice. Yeah.
small, connected country. It's like everyone knows what's going on. It's not like, oh, we don't know where the food is coming on. Everyone really respects farmers. It's always been a very
Hmm.
farmer-led country. So I love some of the aspects about Australia.
I love that. Yeah, because the immigrant stuff is like, yeah, as somebody who's also been through the trenches, I'm always
Yeah.
curious to hear how everybody else is situated.
Yeah. Okay. Work question.
Yes.
With the podcast with me right now, for example, one
Yeah.
of my challenges is that once I've done recording, right, that's 1 hour of time invested. After that, I end up spending almost 4 to 5 hours where I process the video, I put captions on, and then I upload it to YouTube, Spotify, TikTok. TikTok takes 60-minute videos. And then I also use an AI tool called Opus Clip, which kind of
Yeah.
clips the video into maybe I'll find
Mini.
3 or 4 that I can use. And then I also publish a blog post. There is a Twitter thread. There is a Threads thread. It goes on LinkedIn. It goes on Pinterest. I make like a featured image which I
Nice.
put on Pinterest. So there's a bunch of stuff I do. And then I individually post to all these places on the
Platforms.
day or the day after the podcast. And then the 3 clips that I select get posted over the next week or 10 days as well. Again, I'm doing
Yeah.
all of this manually. Can Buffer do this for me automatically?
That's a great question. I mean, yeah, so Buffer is a scheduling tool,
Mm,
and you can literally plug things in. You can connect to all your different profiles, and
yeah.
then you can schedule stuff out, you
Okay.
know?
Okay.
The thing to keep in mind is at the end of the day, like whether you look at Buffer or some of the other tools that also do scheduling, right?
Yeah.
They are working with social platforms through API capabilities, right? The
Yes.
API layer, which allows them to connect their product and the scheduling capability so that your content is going out to an Instagram or LinkedIn and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And the idea is that the API, like they're constantly working on these things, right? They're constantly partnered with different point of contacts at all, like a LinkedIn or Pinterest and whatever else.
Yeah.
And the only limitation with most tools is you can't get all the native capabilities a hundred
Oh,
percent,
of
right?
course.
Because, like, for example, if you post a video on Instagram, can you do that? Of course, you can do that. You can add a caption, you can add hashtags, all that stuff. But, like, if you're looking to adjust your thumbnail,
Ah,
like, then it's like, okay, well, that's super granular.
okay.
And I think there will come a time when you will be able to do that, but I am sure like platforms are also reserving the right to have certain
Sure.
capabilities being that. Yeah, but you can definitely like I think we live in such a like Claude, for example. I used to be a chat GPT user. I have recently, I think a month ago,
I love Claude.
yes. Yeah, I moved to Claude, and the reason I wanted to do that is because Claude has if you go into settings, there is something called connectors.
Yes.
And you can essentially, right, you can have many different connectors. You can say, all
Yes.
right, like as long as those other platforms, if allow you to kind of
Yes.
have that connection, or
Yeah.
sometimes platforms will give you a custom MCP of sorts, and you can drop a link and connect to things that way. But I think if you're pulling context across multiple tools,
Yeah.
and trying to make sense of it all, then rather than doing that manually, like
Yeah.
you can have a lot of that pieced out. You can do a lot of scripting, you can build out skills,
Yeah.
and then you can, in fact, Claude, we have a Buffer MCP now, so you can connect
Ooh.
Buffer to Claude, and you can say, "This is the post. Schedule it for this time," and it'll plug it into the Buffer calendar. So you're not even
Ooh.
switching between tools.
Wow.
So yeah,
Okay.
it's
Thank you
yeah,
for sharing
you can
that.
do all that. Yeah,
So cool.
of course.
You are
It's
so
about
smart.
working smarter. Oh
You
my
are so smart. My God,
oh
I
my god.
love it. Thank
Naina,
you. Because
stop.
I am telling you, Sabreen, in the last 3, 4 months only,
Yeah.
I feel like I have been engulfed with so much love and I have so much gratitude for all these women from all over the world who have just shown up for me in ways that I didn't think it was possible.
Hmm.
There's a friend of mine, she was my first guest on the podcast. She sent me groceries because she knew that I was running short on
Oh.
funds. She's in a different city, but she ordered groceries for me here. My friends have signed up to my podcast and bought like the most expensive tier because they wanted to support me. And I am like, what is happening? So, it's been women, like through and
Yeah.
through women from all over the world. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
what's going on? And it's very like open. There's no agenda. They're just showing up as friends. So yeah, so you too. Like I am so grateful that I can just be like, hey, come on my podcast. And you're like, yeah, let's do it. And we're talking about all these things. You're helping me with, I mean, I literally had a technical question about what to do with the podcast content, and you have an answer for that. And you know about like the MCP, you know about the connectors. And like I said, you're so fucking smart. I love it. I'm so glad you're my friend.
Oh my God. Thank you. No, and Nana, I'm learning every single day. The good thing is, though, nobody is behind on AI right now as long as you have the willingness to embrace it. So, I
Yeah.
am not an engineer by trade. I don't know how to write a line of code, but I am literally like going to Claude, and I've heard great things about Claude Cowork, by the way, which
I
I'm
have as
not
well.
using.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I downloaded Claude, and I just have like low RAM on my laptop, so I'm trying to be a little careful with like how much but like I think you need to think of problems you run into on a daily basis and then
Mm.
say, hmm. So I can give you an example, right? Buffer has a Discord community.
Mm-hmm.
And when I joined, we were at like 4,800, something like that. And then, we ran a couple of programs and there was a big influx of more members. So now we have like 10,000, something like that, like more than 10,000. And it's a free community. Literally,
Yeah,
Naina, you would love being in Discord because you can ask us all sorts of questions, whether it's about strategy, whether I'll send you a link. You should definitely, and it's fun. You
right.
feel like you're with other content creators.
Yes,
And
yes.
so my manager used to ask me, okay, so how are we doing on Discord? And I would go into like insights and look at like, yeah, let's look at server insights. Or like we've grown by this percentage and yeah, like we have good engagement. But I was like, okay, but Sabreen, you're not is not giving me
Yeah.
like have be sure of what you're saying, right? And then I was like, okay, what can I do? Which is like now we're talking about AI, right? So I was like, okay, in an ideal situation, I want to know the sentiment because I can get things like follower growth. I can understand how many new members have joined. I can understand how many messages are sent on the server each day. That information is available to me, right?
Yes. Yes.
What is not easy for me to concatenate is okay, now I have 10,000 people in this thing. It's impossible, even though on a daily basis at a glance, I know what the usual vibe is. I can't talk vibe. I have to say कि हो क्या रहा है लेकिन क्या
Exactly.
हो क्या रहा है, right? So I was like, okay, what can we do about this? So I was like, is there a way that if, let's just say, we have too many channels in there, but not all the channels give you the true narrative arc of what's happening on Discord?
Sure.
So I was like, okay, but what are the top 10 channels that get a lot of the juice from members,
Yeah.
right? So I was like, okay, I've identified these channels. Is there a way for me to pull every single message that comes into each of these channels every single day into Claude and then
Mm-hmm.
have Claude analyze all these messages? And then I tell it, listen, I want you to tell me the top opportunities to introduce new programs. Is there like negative sentiment? What are people complaining about? What are people most excited about?
Yeah.
So I was able to chat with Claude a little bit and we came up with a framework. And basically every single day I use Zapier. So
Mhm.
Zapier, what it does is Zapier connects to Discord. It's a
Okay.
almost like a connecting piece between different software. You can use
Mm-hmm.
it to pull information from one software into another.
Okay.
Basically, it takes every single message from every single channel because it's connected to Discord. It throws it into a Google Sheet.
Yeah.
Then it takes that information into Claude and then
Got
it
it.
runs through the prompt I gave it. And then it spits that back as a report into
Yeah.
Notion. And it
Mm-hmm.
tells me first of every month, we get this long report that gives us a sentiment of like, what is going on? And so now we're like, oh, people want workshops on AI workflows? What the heck? Or, oh, people have been asking a lot of questions around pricing that it's confusing. So then our product manager is like, oh, that's come up in product feedback. So there's some truth to that. Like I just think that you need to think of a problem and talk to Claude.
So this is you're saying this, and
Yeah.
when I had $236 left in my account, I was like, and I had used the free version of Claude, and I was like, maybe I should sign up to the pro version. And it was obviously there's a yearly thing,
It's
because then
expense.
yeah, the yearly thing, the total was I didn't even have that money in my account, so I was like, maybe I should just sign up for a month, and a month was $34, and I was like, you know what, I
It's
think this
expensive.
will, yeah, I thought it'll be a good investment and it'll help me make money. And I was like, fine, let's do it. So I signed up to Claude. And pretty quickly, one of the things I wanted to do was, because my main platform is Instagram, I wanted to look at the kind of comments I was getting. I wanted to look at the kind of DMs I was getting, because a lot of people write to me asking about, immigration to Australia, or, resources in
Mm,
Adelaide, or like a bunch. I get so many DMs, people wanting to be on the podcast, people wanting to pick my brain about XYZ or whatever. And I was just like, it's so fragmented. but I was not able to find a way because there is a way to download your data on Meta, but it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
give you your own DMs or your own like comments. So
Right.
that was one of the issues that I ran into. And now that you brought this up, I'm like, huh, maybe there is a way to do it. I just don't know how to do it yet.
So what are you trying to pull, Nana? What are you trying to pull from
Basically,
where?
all the DMs that I get on my Instagram, I want to
Hmm.
pull that into Claude to give me overall see and things like, can I make videos out of this? Can I make content out of this that people will find helpful instead of individually responding to each person? I send voice notes. I'm like, yes, this is what I did. This is the visa I came on. This is what I did. But to then have all the DMs and get a sense of the sentiment in that sense of what is it that people are coming to me for? That would be a great problem
Interesting.
to solve. Yeah.
Maybe this is something I can also think about. Like, yeah, that would be cool to figure out like how to. You have to see what permissions you have with
Yeah. Yeah.
Meta. One tool that I have started using, which is different than what you're saying, but like for example, I launched a coffee um, a couple of months ago,
Okay.
and the coffee is called Breadcrumb Behavior,
Uh-huh.
and it's a light roast, natural processed and all that stuff, and I'm working with someone who has like a coffee brand, but
Of
like
course.
you're a creator who has their own line, right?
Amazing.
So I like, yeah, I guess actually I'm gonna see if I can show you,
Yes,
because this looks so
please.
funny because I I had to, I'm gonna open my freezer and see if I
Yeah.
have.
It is so cool. This is why I love my podcast because it's like it's Insta like, oh my God, look at that. Wait,
Yeah.
where are my glasses?
So it's called
Wow. And that's like,
bread.
okay, cool.
Yeah, for us. So basically, like I did a launch post. I'll send you the reel after this live session. But I was like, okay, now if people are interested in buying this, I
Yeah.
don't want to have to DM people separately if they're
Yeah.
interested, right? I want to keep it very low pressure. So I signed up for, actually, I didn't even pay for this tool because if you're on the free tier, you can already do it without. I said, okay, anybody who comments the word coffee, they will get a link to my coffee.
Sure. Sure.
And like it's ManyChat is
Many
what
chat.
the
Yeah,
tool
yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah.
And I was like, okay, or so maybe you could do posts about immigration and all that stuff, and then you could ask them to like comment the word, and then it automatically sends them. You know what, Nana? I have an idea for you.
Tell me.
You should create a guide
Uh-huh.
about moving,
Yeah.
because
Okay.
my the way that I moved was very like I went to study, and then I
Sure.
met someone, and
Sure.
then we got married, and then like he was living in the US, so then like spousal visa, it was a very predict like weird route, right? But you could literally then start posting about it, and then you could direct people through ManyChat to buy your guide, and the guide doesn't have to be priced
Sure.
at a, it could be nominal, that helps people, but like it's a workflow, and you could, I created a guide about how to deal with Indian relatives,
Oh, no way. Very, very
how
much
to
needed.
how to deal with intrusive questions, and it covers a wide range of stuff. How much did you score? How much is your salary? Why aren't you getting married? When are you having kids? Like all sorts of stuff.
Wow.
So like it's really funny.
I am so inspired by you. My God. Like you've given me ideas about like the way you are thinking about this, like how to deal with Indian relatives. This is an aspect that I don't think I've ever considered with my life in that sense where, I could talk about those things. For me, it's very productized. It's like, oh, $100 podcast, $100 straight talk, it's
Hmm.
that. Which is also new. I've never had any of these products earlier. But that's very interesting, cool. I feel like a session with Claude is due where I sit with it and be like, okay, give me ideas. And then it
Yeah, like
honestly it gives really shitty ideas sometimes, probably because my prompts are shitty. But then I look at it and sometimes I'm like, huh, neither this nor that, but this could work, And that's
right.
that's one of the like the $100 podcast idea is what then inspired me to go into Claude and be like, can we come up with more $100 ideas where the work is remote? I don't need to go to an on-site place. The work is minimal in that sense. It can be structured so that I'm not,
Mhm.
like with Claude, I sit and do all the output of the podcast. It takes me 4 to 5 hours. If I had to do it
Mhm.
myself, I'd probably be spending 5 days doing it. So I get that.
Oh,
It's amazing.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. It's also like if you are in Claude, they just actually launched their Opus 407, 4.7 model
Oh, okay.
yesterday, which is like their most intelligent tier. One thing to note is though, if you're asking it for very everyday logistical admin questions, switch to a different model so you're not burning through your credits,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because for 4.6 kind of hits your credit repository a little bit more. So you could do that.
Hmm.
Um, Yeah, like so Buffer gives us an AI stipend separately, which
Sure.
is we have a certain budget we can, and they just increased it exponentially, which
Wow.
what we used to get for a year, they're giving it to us in a month. But even then, I have twice paid $100 to Claude for a month because of the credit limits, because I use it so much. And then I have other tools like I use vidIQ to do keyword research for my YouTubes and title and what text should go on the
Sure.
thumbnail and like what's the competition behind this keyword. But it's like at the end of the day, it kind of works out because I launched YouTube 3 weeks ago and it's picking up, hopefully.
Yeah,
If
it
I
is.
get to the if it gets to the monetization stage, like I hope that it pays for a lot of the infrastructural investments I'm making right now.
Yes.
And I think the biggest lesson I have learned through my content creation journey is I get bored very easily. So I sometimes give up before the compound effect hits,
Ah,
right? Which is why the reason I haven't started my Instagram is because I'm like, you once you start it, like you have to keep going.